Hello, welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are the #1 internet singles talk network, and we're really proud of that. And we want to thank you so much for listening to us here today. I am Cece Shatz, the host of Going Solo with Cece. I'm the Doyenne of relationship building. And what that means is I really try to help take you through some of the darkest times in your life, really enlighten you, embrace you, and hopefully introduce you to some really awesome individuals that are going to inspire you to live the life of your choice. So any shows that you'd like to listen to, just go to our goingsolomedia.com and everything is right there for you. But let's get right on to the subject today because we've got a jam-packed show for you. Our show today is called Better Divorce Blueprint. We have elite guests with us, Paulette Rigo, and she is the founder of the Better Divorce Academy. Let's bring her right up. Hello.
Hi, Cece. Such a pleasure.
Hi, Paulette. It's so great to have you here. Now, let's share with the audience a little bit about you. You're a CDC, a registered mediator, divorce recovery, and career transition support specialist. And tell us and share with our audience why you have such a passion for divorce to help others move through, really some of the hardest times in their life.
Oh my, it's a personal story and a professional story. I grew up in Boston, had no interest in ever stepping foot in a courtroom or being involved in anything having to do with divorce or the legal field. I ran a performing arts school and a children's modeling agency and a yoga studio. And I've done a lot of, things having to do with women. I was a birth doula, macrobiotic cook, breastfeeding consultant. I just never envisioned myself doing this work. But unfortunately, 3% of divorces go to trial. That's only 3%. So 97% of them don't, which is important to know. It's not the norm. And of that 3% that do go to trial, only 1% go to the appellant court process. Well, unfortunately, Cece, I'm the 1%. I personally endured an 8.5-year fully litigated experience that included a 12-day trial that took place over 9 months. And then after that, of course, there was a lot of preparation before the actual trial. And then the patience of waiting for the decision, which took about a year. And after that, there was a 4-year Massachusetts Supreme Court appellant process. So because of that, my case became pretty well known. I would even say notorious. And many people, predominantly women, but men too, heard about my case. And being that I had a large network of people that knew me, I worked in TV, radio, media, but I also had that background in performing arts. And I just knew a lot of people. People heard about my story, whatever means they heard it, and reached out to me and said, I heard about your case. Can you help me? And being who I am, I listened, invited them over or chatted on the phone and poured a lot of coffee, poured a little bit of wine, and listened to a lot of stories. Also, when I was in court over the years, I took copious notes and really learned a lot. So much so my divorce attorney said that I had my PhD in divorce. So I did say to him, hey, people are reaching out to me. Should I go to law school? And he laughed and said, you'd be one hell of a litigator. You should consider it. We kind of chuckled about that. And he said, no, but you should really consider become a credentialed mediator and a certified divorce coach. Of course, I said to him, what is that? What is that? So I didn't know. I didn't really understand that was a thing or a profession. But in the meantime, I don't do anything halfway. So I did a ton of training, education, certifications, mentorships, internships, mentoring, to be able to really understand every aspect of the divorce journey, which led me to founding Better Divorce Academy, authoring Better Divorce Blueprint. And it changed every aspect of myself, every cell in my body, the work I do, and my mission to really make an optimal experience through the divorce journey and process.
Yeah, you inspire others, and I really appreciate all that you do. Like you, we really do want to get, the information out so people understand they have other choices as they're going through divorce, and also that they can somehow grasp a little bit of maybe being, take away the insanity, shall I say, of divorce that we go through. And so I really do want everyone to maybe run out and get this book, because I think it might change your life if you're going through divorce. But it's called Better Divorce Blueprint, and you're the author of that. But even more so, you've actually put this into action, in your academy. And so that makes a huge difference. And so, we do want to appreciate you for that.
Well, thank you. I didn't mean to write the book. It just came together because, well, I went to college for journalism and I love writing, and I take notes. And a few clients said to me, could you just write everything down for me? Because you always teach me so much, but I forget everything. So I started to create PDFs, which turned into ebooks, which turned into chapters and lessons. And before I know it, I had over 600 pages of notes. The book itself is 307 pages. And then there's a companion book that's 197 pages. So they work really well together. It's a lot like reading a novel. And you don't want to read this as just cover to cover and say, okay, I think I've soaked up all that knowledge, because you really have to turn the knowledge into wisdom by doing the work, answering the questions, and really understanding it. That's why I also have named the work I do Better Divorce Academy, because you need to learn what you're doing. It's like getting schooled in divorce. Not that we want to get schooled in divorce, but when and if you are either contemplating it, or somebody has said, hey, we need to talk, or you're trying to get through it, through the process of surviving the actual day-to-day of getting through a divorce. What does that look like? And then even on the back end with it's over, but it's really where the work starts. The healing process. Should you change your name? What does dating look like? The whole new world that opens up to you when you are, in fact, finding yourself solo again, single, which is why I was like, I found you. I was like, this is so important. So it is an inspiring, empowering part of the journey, but it can also be scary and very complicated.
Yes, for sure. I totally agree with that. The thing is it's the transition part, as we're going through divorce, that kind of smacks us in the face so quickly that our lives are tremendously changing. And we're so involved in the actual action of divorce that we don't sometimes step back and think about our lives, how we can evolve from it and how we can grow from that, and really open the doors to something that's really quite beautiful. And so when we have tools like yours, it does help us be able to get through some of those tough times, those better understanding, be able to put it, when you see it in writing, and you're able to work on the workbook alongside with the book and slowly and at your own pace, go through some of the steps. I think it certainly does give us a sense of security as we step forward into this new life that we are embarking upon, right?
Yes, it's much like having a toolbox. You don't know what you'll need, but the fact that you have the tools in the toolbox makes you prepared in case you ever do. Ladies, you could probably relate to a makeup bag, right? Like when you're traveling, you're like, I don't know if I need all this stuff, but what the heck, I'm going to throw it in just in case, right? So if you have the big picture and you understand the language, the process, everything from the beginning, and chapters 1, 2, and 3 are before. I don't even get into the divorce process until chapter 4, because 1 is all about, there's a lot to take into consideration, and you really need to understand your thought process, feel the feelings that you're feeling, deciding what you want, taking responsibility for yourself, understanding all the deal breakers that may or may not be involved in your relationship, how to prepare and protect yourself. And then it goes into all the information that you'll need, how to honor your values, how to tell the children, how to decide what's right for you, the ways of possibly ending the marriage, what that might look like. I could go on. And then chapter 3 is really about understanding the budget and the lawyer speak, and the process of understanding the process before you go ahead and jump into it. There's a lot to learn, and it can be overwhelming. I wanted to really create many different tools, not just the ones in the makeup bag. So I do have the book in the workbook, but I also created a card deck. Somebody called it a divorce tarot card yesterday. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, I'd never really thought of it that way. It's called No Matter What, and you can kind of shuffle them and ask yourself a question, draw a card. And it's amazing the synchronicity of the answer to really the guidance that you might need when you feel stuck or lost. I also host retreats, predominantly for women contemplating or healing from divorce, because I really believe in community. We really do need to feel like we're not alone going through this. It's a very scary feeling of like already going into this new world of like, now I've got to face everything by myself. I also went back to my roots and have a podcast. It's called the Thriving in Chaos Project. It's all over wherever you get podcasts, and have over 100+ episodes now. And they're not just with me, they're experts in fields, everything legal, financial, residential, mortgage, parenting, mental health, well-being, high conflict, you name it. We delve into the world of all things divorce. It's not all doom and gloom. A lot of it is inspirational too. And I just wrapped up my second summit called Better Divorce Summit. It's a 4-day event I hold 4 times a year. Day 1 is how you know that divorce is your only option, because I never want anyone to throw in the towel. And they really need to make sure that there's 100% chance that the marriage is truly over. Some people kind of throw in the towel a little too early. It's different every case. And then we deal with high conflict and what is the language, what are the tactics and the behaviors that high conflict people use? Because if you are going to embark on the divorce journey and your spouse is a little bit challenging, you're going to need that information. Day 2 is the legal financial scene, that whole picture. Day 3 is the residential and the mortgage lending part of it, which is a big part. 75% of divorces involve the sale or purchase of real estate. So that's a big one for everybody to consider. And then on day 4, we wrap it up with co-parenting, with the GAL, understanding what co-parenting and parallel parenting could and should look like. And then lastly, how to deal with stress, well-being, and take care of yourself, because it's not very it's very often, very common for somebody to have gone through divorce and all of a sudden they start getting autoimmune diseases, insomnia, headaches, all kinds of rashes and weird things happen. Stress does have a way of wreaking havoc with the body. So
yeah. You're so right with that. That's absolutely correct. You know, it is so great to hear this because, you know, back when I first started, you know, my divorce, I think over 12, 13 years ago, there was just really nothing out there. And so we have definitely evolved with making sure that people, you know, realize that there's other avenues that they can take. And when they are traveling down one road in divorce and it's not so pleasant for them, that there is something they can reach out and read and touch and have coaches that can help them through. So it's a huge turnaround for divorce awareness. And I believe a lot of attorneys now are stepping up to plate, understanding the emotional, ties that really help kind of cause havoc sometimes within the divorce itself, that if we can kind of somehow better understand ourselves as individuals, understand the path that we're going on, that maybe we can tame a little bit of the divorce issues to try to go a little bit smoother. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a tricky juxtaposition. And some of my dearest friends are attorneys, and I sometimes think they get a bad rap. You know, there's only a thing more than blonde jokes are attorney jokes. So we can laugh about that, right, Cece? Yeah, it's like true. There's a lot of attorney jokes and there's a lot of blonde jokes. And sometimes those stereotypes are right. I do believe that many attorneys are compassionate people. They do, in fact, care about people. They wouldn't get into counseling at law if they didn't really feel passionate about helping people. But they're really, it's a tough profession. I wouldn't want to have it. I considered it, but not my demeanor. On the other hand, therapists don't know the law. So counselors, and there's a lot of acronyms after people's names. So
Right.
whether you're a licensed clinical social worker, counselor, therapist, psychiatrist, whatever that is in the mind field of mental health, they don't have the answers, nor should they, about your legal financial picture. It's not in their wheelhouse. So a lot of the mistakes I see people make is they ask their therapist or their counselor for legal advice or advice in general about the divorce, but they also use their attorney as a therapist. And not only can that get very expensive,
Yes.
you're going to get bad advice. So I'm a little bit of the quarterback. I tend to be the web that kind of keeps the whole party together. If you're going with the football analogy, you've got to have all the members of the team. So, but I'm the one that kind of looks at the big picture, is able to take the person going through it and get them the right professionals. If I don't know the answer to something, I'm the first to admit it, but I usually know somebody that does know the answer. Back in the days when we used to call it a Rolodex, I consider myself having a very large Rolodex of professionals that I can turn to in the right area. And I'm not location driven. I grew up in Boston and lived in Belize for 3 years and now relocated south of Atlanta. But I do have clients all over the country and in other countries too. And that's a beautiful thing. It's one of the advantages, the small advantages of the new world we live in with the COVID situation. I mean, Cece and I probably wouldn't have met either, right? So it is kind of fascinating. We have to own that and take the good with the bad, not throw away the baby with the bathwater, as they say. There's a lot to learn. So understanding that you have the right professional and knowing that you have that support, that cheerleader, that guide that can get you the right resources, the right experts, and also help you with the tactical, just everyday things that attorneys are not going to get back to you. I have clients that text me 24/7. I'm happy to do that. It's how I roll. I wouldn't have it any other way. I started my divorce journey about the same time you did, Cece, back in 2008. And you're right. There wasn't, can I say it? Damn thing. There was nothing out there. I remember going to the bookstore and looking and seeking and searching for some evidence.
Yeah, same thing. And trying to educate myself on the law because I didn't feel like I was being represented properly. It seemed like to be, and no, I don't want to be feeling bad about any attorneys out there or whatever, but I felt like it was like a good old boys club, and I wasn't part of the team. And I was like, what's going on here? And, I remember going into one of my mediation and they all were talking and laughing and they all knew each other. And I, of course, didn't because I wasn't from that area. And so I was like, this isn't good for me. And so that's why I do feel that your book and your process, your programs are really going to enlighten people because knowledge is power. And when we have the power, when we have the knowledge, it minimizes our fear. And our fear is what makes us react to things that maybe we wouldn't normally react to. So it's very, very vital that we have a team that we put together that's comfortable for us. I mean, some may need to have financial advisors and they, have a coach, a therapist, and they have, an attorney, and they have all of these teams. They might need that, but maybe some person just needs a mediator and a coach. So it just depends on what they need.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people assume, Cece, that I'm pro-divorce. Here I am, founder of Better Divorce Academy. Like, she's got to be pro-divorce, but I'm not. And I'm happily remarried. And one of the reasons I also wanted to not just be a consultant and a coach in this realm and that hat I wear with that, but I also wanted to study to become a mediator. I think becoming a family law mediator is a specialty I hold near and dear, of letting people come to a resolution, allowing them to stay more in control of the process, and also understanding that process is more confidential. It's usually more expedient. Both parties feel heard, less expensive. It's not for everybody. You can DIY, you can amicably or adversarially mediate. It doesn't necessarily have to all be holding hands and getting along perfectly. There can be a little bit of, dispute. You can also collaborate and go through the collaborative law process, or you can arbitrate. Sometimes that works, or you can go through the litigant process. And again, just because you decide to litigate doesn't mean you have to go to trial like I did. It isn't the reason you decide to litigate. If both parties are willing to come to the table in good faith, in complete transparency, and be vulnerable and have those uncomfortable conversations, mediation typically will work. You've got to be willing to compromise, you've got to be willing to communicate, and you have to be able to treat each other with respect, authenticity, and be completely transparent and honest. If that's possible, give it a shot. Counseling, therapy, all those things do help. There's so much to take into consideration. I know myself, I knew nothing. I was so green. I thought when I heard the word affidavit that some guy named David was going to walk in the room. I had no idea what any of the Latin meant. It was intimidating. I didn't know the lawyer speak. I didn't understand the rights and the process. And again, all 50 states are slightly different. So, that's another thing you have to really know and understand. What are the laws in your state? All the things that have to do it. It just boils down.
Let's talk about this when we come back from break a little bit further in depth, because I think that that's real important. We want to make sure that we cover that. Everyone, I'd like to make sure that you know that Paulette Rigo is a CDC registered mediator, divorce, recovery, and career transition support specialist, which we're going to talk about that when we come back. Also, I want to make sure we share all of her websites with you, and I think it's very important. They're up here on your screen. If you can't catch it, don't worry about it. We have it right on our website on Going Solo Media. She's one of our elite guests, so we have all of her information right there. But of course, you can get it on betterdivorceacademy.com, or you can go to bettercareerproject.com, betterdivorceblueprint.com, or betterdivorcesummit.com. She is very active, as you can see, within the realm of helping people get through divorce and really to living their best life. So look up all of her information, please, and check out her book, which is called Better Divorce Blueprint. And as the beginning of the show, we talked about, it's not just a book, but it's also an additional workbook that you can use to be able to kind of help sort out your life and try to help walk you through better understanding of divorce process. So, well, thank you so much, Paulette. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more in depth, and I'd like to hear a little bit about the transition of career. So that so often happens to us as we're moving, through divorce, living a brand new life for ourselves. We sometimes have to look at our careers and adjust ourselves that way. So we'll be right back. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Shatz. You're listening to the Going Solo with Cece show. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We are on the Going Solo with Cece show. I am Cece Shatz, your host of the Tonight Show, and I'm so pleased to have you here with us. We have a wonderful guest here with us. We have elite guest Paulette Rigo. She's the founder of Better Divorce Academy. We're talking about her new, well, I'm not sure how new it is, but you did this process. It's called Better Divorce Blueprint, and it's not just a book. It's actually a whole blueprint in order, a workbook and everything in order to be able to get through the process of divorce and thereafter. So we've been talking a little bit about that. Paulette is a registered mediator, divorce recovery, and career transition support specialist. She's also part of the CDC, which is a certified divorce certificate. So, she knows her stuff. She's been around for a while doing this, and we want to thank you for being on the show with us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, we talked a lot. It is great having you. We talked a lot at the beginning of the show about, your journey, what brought you to doing what you're doing, and the importance of how you feel of helping others get through, one of the darkest times in their lives, to be able to enlighten them with information and knowledge so that they can really kind of hopefully set aside the fear, understand what it is that they need to do, and, really, go with someone like yourself, a divorce coach that can help them be able to understand not only the process, but also kind of enlighten them on this new journey of a new life. And so I want to thank you for that, and thank you for sharing all that you have. So tell us a little bit about I'd like to go a little bit more into being a mediator and the importance of that, because I don't think individuals quite understand the process of mediation. And it is another way if you choose not to do litigation. And so litigation, of course, is going through an attorney, kind of like arguing a little bit about things. But a mediator, they have a different way of looking at things, don't they? So share with us a little bit about that.
I would love to. Great question, and such a needed one. Mediation is a process in which a mediator is a neutral party where they are able to listen, understand the process because they're familiar with it, listen to both sides, and normally one party is in one room and another is in another room, and the mediator bounces back and forth a little bit in what's called a caucus, where you meet with party A over an issue. Usually it's to resolve one of the 4 issues of custody, child support, division of assets, or spousal support. And we attack one at a time, slowly and methodically, and we go back and forth until they're able to come to a meeting point of a resolution. It's 86% successful. It doesn't always end up in an agreement or a settlement, but at least if you have a partial agreement, you can then take that to an attorney and say, we've already agreed on A, B, and C. We just need to work on D. And sometimes you might leave that up to a judge. It isn't an all or nothing proposition. I don't know if that helped the decision, but it really is an important, vital one that you understand the process. You can also have an attorney present during the process. So it would be a mediator, and then each party, and then representation, if it's a little bit more on the adversarial side, or you just have the mediator with 2 parties. Then a transactional attorney can write up the settlement or the agreement. It's not a settlement, it's an agreement that would then be created into a settlement and given to the courts to see the resolution of that. So that's predominantly how the mediation process works.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know here in the state of Florida, a mediation is a requirement. So when you go, when you see an attorney and then you start the process of divorce, it's an automatic thing. And here, a lot of times the court appoints a mediator. It can be court appointed. However, I know in our state or in our county that you can appoint your own mediator. Many people don't realize that you can choose your own mediator. And so, that's something that you might very well be able to do. So I do think that it's important to let people know that there are options that they can do, and they can actually have control of their divorce if they so choose to. And by saying that, it's working together, both parties working together to try to resolve the issues at hand the best way that they can, with professionals, of course, they're helping to kind of steer the boat, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's very, very important. And not when I was getting divorced, I didn't know that we had this kind of option. I didn't even know what mediation was. In my case, all it was just a fishing, expedition to find out what the heck's going on, so they can then go back and fight even stronger. So
it can be perceived as that sometimes. So, and I did want to commend you for that about 1/3 of the states, probably getting closer to 1/2 of the states, do require mediation. So it's getting to be more of the norm. It used to be just a small percentage of the states required mediation, but more and more are catching on. The courts are so packed and overburdened that they need to get those cases out of the courtroom that are not being litigated, so that they have an opportunity to be more expedient and get them through the process. The other thing to consider in mediation is that you are in control of it, and it's confidential. As soon as you enter the litigated process, it's public knowledge. Litigation is just public. You're in a court, it's all very public. So, it's just a little bit nicer, calmer. You are also in control. The other thing is, if it's not going well, you have the right to pull out. You're not forced to continue. If you feel in any way that you're being manipulated or it's just not working out, you do have the option to say, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. But I just think here's the thing is like, you're at this point where you're going to be getting a divorce. And so why not try to do it in a way where you can salvage some of your peace of mind, some of the stress levels, some of things like that. So if you then let's say you hire a coach and it helps you, get through the mediation part of it. You've got the mediator, the coach, and that's helping you with the emotional side of it. It's helping you be logical about your decisions that you're making, both in the present and long term. So it's certainly, I think it's definitely something that people need to be more aware that it is a possibility for them. And then, of course, like you said, you can hire an attorney to just, look over everything, make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, those kind of things before submitting it to the judge. So I think it's a wonderful platform that people should take advantage of and at least evaluate if it's right for them.
Well, 80% of my clients are mediating. And one of the things I need to do with them as a coach, if I'm not mediating the case, but I'm the consultant coach through it, is teaching them about the process, what to wear, what you should say, what you shouldn't say, just really understanding the process, because it's scary. They just don't know what to expect. And it's a lot more calming to go into it knowing what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about this career transition support that you do. And this is something that not everyone does. So this is a specialty, and you are a specialist at it. So share with us a little bit about that.
Well, I come from a long line of successful female entrepreneurs. I have never not known that women couldn't do anything they didn't want to do. In fact, I have a little sign on my wall in my office that says, "A wise girl knows her limits. A smart girl knows she has none." And wow. Marilyn Monroe is the one that said that. So Marilyn, thank you for that. But here's the story, Cece. Mm-hmm. A very large percentage of women that are lucky enough, and I don't mean women, people, a very large percentage of people, spouses who are lucky enough to get child support or alimony, don't get it forever. It doesn't, it's not forever. It only lasts a period of time. And they don't really understand that once it ends, there's this feeling of, oh my, how am I going to support myself? It's a problem. So now you have a year left or 6 months left, and you start to panic. And there's this feeling of like, uh-oh, the kids are going off to college. They're all going to be emancipated. Child support is ending, or I only get spousal support for so many years. And the numbers are going down. It used to be lifetime, then half the duration of the marriage. Who knows? I've seen women in 30-year marriages that are lucky to get it for 4 or 5 years. So it is changing, which, yeah, we won't, that'll be a whole nother conversation. But so because of that, there needs to be a place, a platform, a location where those people who need to plan for that day know what to do and how to create sustainable, viable businesses. The future is yours to create, but you've got to have a plan. People, stay-at-home mom or dads who've not been in the workforce for a long period of time, it's a daunting experience. And how do I even approach that? They haven't seen a resume or a CV, have not been in an interview in years. Do they amp up their skills? Do they start a business? What does that look like? I also love to help women, predominantly women, write books, because I feel that every woman has at least 2 books hidden deep inside them that need to be shared and told for so many reasons. It could be anything from nonfiction to fiction, but there's this creative process, and I enjoy helping them use that as a way to either launch a business or to consider just a passion project. So whether it's starting a business, amping up your skills, finding your dream job, there's a lot of different ways. But your career and your future is a big responsibility, both financially and practically, and you've got to take it serious.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, when I was after my divorce, I thought, what the heck am I going to do? You know, because I had been really helping my husband build his business, you know, and I'm thinking like, and then I realized, well, heck, if I helped him build his business, why can't I build my own? so I had just had a shift, but it took me a while to get there. It took me, you know, and if I had a coach, I think I certainly would have knocked off a few years of my work. But yeah, I agree that I think many people are realizing that when they come through divorce, half their income is, you know, slashed. Even the guys, you know, their income is slashed, and what you thought you had, you know, both incomes together, you don't. And so they're having to, you know, if they're getting close to retirement, they're having to not retire. They're having to switch gears a little bit. And the ladies are certainly having to rethink about their careers and what they're doing. So it's definitely a transition that we go through, and something that's definitely needed out there.
Well, the process happened organically. Not only have I been a serial entrepreneur my whole life, I've always had some sort of my hand in something that was entrepreneurial in spirit. I've had a couple corporate jobs, but not really. They were, I would say small business. I'm just not a corporate type person to be in the big 60-story concrete building with the cubicle and just that mindset. And that's good for some people. Some people enjoy being in a corporate environment. So whatever the goal is, it's to step into your voice and your power, understand your skills. Why am I here? What is my purpose? How do I serve? How do I contribute to the world? Use my skills to an advantage, but also to support myself and maybe perhaps your children too. But it really is important that you're able to reconnect and reevaluate to the parts of you, your values, your core goals. We tend to forget about those when we're going through a conflict and divorce. It's very stressful, and we usually put those on the back burner. And when you're close to being done and on the other side, you start to say, what now? And much of that has to do with, how do I create something that makes me proud, that makes me feel purposeful, that has meaning, where I'm able to contribute? And I want money in the bank so that I can support myself in my my older years.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's really a stepping stone. So often when we come out of such tragic environment as we're going through divorce, there's like, it's like a stepping stone. Sometimes it propels us into looking at our lives and looking at our skill set, looking at what we've learned, and to be able to take that and move that forward into something even bigger and better that you had never imagined. I mean, certainly I never thought that I would be here today doing what I'm doing now and loving every minute of it. So, it's there is something good on the other side. It's just sometimes we need to have our eyes opened a little bit to see it, right?
And we need to feel supported and encouraged through the journey so that we don't feel terrible if it doesn't work out. I don't know exactly the numbers of the percentages of businesses that fail in the first year, but it's not a small number.
Right.
If we have to try things and be willing to try something. And when it doesn't work, it's okay. How many professional, very successful people have failed and failed and failed and failed and failed. And it wasn't until the 20,000th time or, that they did it, that bam, they got it. Or something like, I think Thomas Edison said, I didn't fail. I just didn't do it right the first 10,000 times. It took that 10,001 to invent the light bulb. I may have bastardized that quote a little, but I think you got the message, right? It's like being persistent and having patience and perseverance, but also having the expert guidance of somebody to pull out of you the things that you really know you're good at, but it's a little scary to admit that, and humbling, and you feel like you're being bragging and look at me, aren't I fabulous? And that's not it at all. You just have to get really clear on understanding how you tick and what is in your future that makes you excited again, because you've got to fall in love with your life again. I'm sure there was a day you fell in love with it. Maybe you were 4, who knows? But you got to find that part of yourself that has been busy doing other stuff. It's important to do that. There's a lot of other stuff to worry about. What do you do with the ring? Do I change my name? What about dating? But when it comes down to it, the healing part is really about feeling empowered and supported. And that a lot of that boils down to your future and how you're creating it.
Oh, very well said. You are a wonderful guest, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show. The time has flown by so quickly. So everyone, again, we're listening to Paulette Rigo. She's a CDC, a registered mediator, divorce recovery, and career transition support specialist. She has a wonderful book out and a course. It's called Better Divorce Blueprint, and you'll find that right on her information, which is the betterdivorceacademy.com. Check out her other sites, and if you're looking at doing your career, changing your career, maybe she can help you with a project like that. You check out her website, bettercareerproject.com. The blueprint is called betterdivorceblueprint.com. And then, of course, she has these great summits. So you guys should check that out. It's betterdivorcesummit.com. I think those are absolutely terrific. And I want to thank you for all that you do, for all the individuals out there that are really traveling through very scary, a very frightening time in their lives, something filled with uncertainty. But certainly on the other side, you've showed us once again on the other side that you can get through a better divorce and, get to the other side to really living the life that you want. So thank you again for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And just know that the most important thing is that you divorce with dignity, that you hold yourself high, shoulders back, chin up, one step at a time. That's all you need to do. Little baby steps. You'll get through it. Find your support system. Know you're not alone. You'll get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely check out her sites again, betterdivorceacademy.com and the betterdivorceblueprint.com. So it's all on our Going Solo media. She has her own page. All the information is there. We want to thank you again, Paulette, for supporting us here at the Going Solo Network. We appreciate it. And we hope that you'll come back on and share some new information with us and help us through some of these difficult times. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I tell you guys, the time went by very, very quickly. And we always have great information here for you as you're traveling through your life. And we hope that you enjoy the show as much as we do. We love bringing it to you. So I hope that you enjoy it and that you get something from it. I would love to hear from you. Of course, my email is goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. And our website is goingsolomedia.com. We have our new singles group, which is Going Solo Community. Check it out. We'd love to have you. You're listening to Going Solo with Cece on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network. We are a TV, radio, and podcast station. We're the #1 internet singles talk network, and we'll catch you back here next time. Bye for now.